Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Christ in Me with Addie, where we seek to live out a John 3:30 life. John 3:30 says, "He must become greater and greater, and I less and less." Let's be real. In today's world, it can seem impossible to live out what the Bible calls us to do. Not only can it be hard to understand sometimes, but finding the time to read the Bible, to understand the Bible, to know the Bible, it can just be overwhelming. So I created this podcast so we could walk alongside each other, share some of our stories and struggles, but also where the Lord is bringing us, so that we can encourage one another and stay rooted in His Word. It's my prayer that you walk away from each episode saying, I know that is Christ in me. I know Christ in me. So let's get into today's topic. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Christ in Me with Addie. But today we're joined by my husband, Solomon. Say hey, babe.
What's up, guys?
So you might be wondering, if you're watching on YouTube, why we are in our wedding outfits. And it's because we're really extra. But it's also because this is our anniversary episode. After 1 year of marriage, we decided to make an episode and talk about the things that we've learned after 1 year of marriage. So we're those cringy people who are like, let's see if we fit back into our wedding outfits. And I can't confirm, I can't believe my dress still fit, you guys. So that's a win.
Still look as beautiful as ever, too.
I can't. All right, there's probably going to be a lot of cheese in this episode, if I'm being honest. You might cry.
Get the graders out.
You might cringe. But either way, we hope you learned something, because I can't believe it's been a year, honestly. Isn't that kind of wild?
It's kind of flown.
It's honestly flown by. In all honesty, this is a major confession of mine, but I still haven't legally changed my last name, which is nuts. But it's a process, you guys. It's actually like a nightmare to change your last name. Anyways, hopefully by anniversary number 2, I'm legally Addie Overla. But anyways, all that to say, today, whether you're single listening to this, whether you're married listening to this, whether you know that you want to get married one day or you're engaged, we both made a list separately of things that we learned in marriage, and we're going to be discussing them right now. I'm kind of scared of what your list says. I feel like you know me very personally, and you might out me on some things, but we hope that no matter your relationship status, if anything, you see God in this conversation, you hear God's love through this conversation, and no matter what, even your parents' marriage looked like, we hope it just restores hope in you, and that you know that we're by no means perfect or the perfect couple or anything like that. We're messy, broken in all our ways, but you're probably going to hear a lot of love, because we're just really reminiscing on where God has brought us over the past year. And so this is a little bit of our story, guys, getting a zoomed in view on our marriage. But how about you kick us off, Saul, with the first thing that you learned after a year of marriage?
Well, let me just go ahead and start it off by saying it has been one of the greatest decisions of my life. Doing life with someone else and making life decisions together has honestly been amazing and has made life way easier, in my opinion. Just getting to do things with one another and not having to worry about keeping one another out, or so that you miss an opportunity, or I don't know, just getting to do stuff with one another has just been so exciting and truly just refreshing, I guess, because back then you just not I say back then, but back before we were even married or dating, and just doing things as a single person, it's just it's so different than it is now.
Yeah. Actually, we just had somebody at our church. For those who don't know, I work for a church, and she is a recent widow, within the last few years, and she was just saying how when she sees couples in church, she just gets really sad and a little bitter too, because she just sees what she doesn't have. And I definitely used to be that way when I was single. I would just be everybody has somebody but me, and it just sucks, And I think if I can just piggyback off of what you said, if I've learned anything, it's that there's not a cure-all to that feeling even when you get married. Mm-hmm. You're still just as responsible for the friendships in your life and for the relationships with your family, and having another person it definitely helps with loneliness, don't get me wrong, but I found that comfort fulfilled through God and not through finding you as a spouse. But I will say, I knew when God confirmed in me that I was like meant for marriage. And I definitely have felt the most joyful in those moments of like shared times together. So
Yep.
I totally get that.
I agree.
So
what you got?
I'll go next. The first thing I learned is that, by the way, we each have like 7 points. So we'll try to get through them and not talk for too long. Anyways, I learned that I need to talk to God as much as, if not more, than I talk to you. Which I am like a words of affirmation person. I think out loud a lot of times. And I would just like, if I had a hard day or even if I had a good day, hey, I saw that face. If I had a hard day or even a good day, I will come to you and just like pour out my life and then sometimes like forget to pray about it because before I had you like just talking to God like filled that for me. But now sometimes like having your ear fills that for me and I kind of forget to take it to God too. And so I really had to learn to almost take things to God first and then tell you. So that's something I've definitely been trying to prioritize. But I think it's just that like new love, living together feeling where you're just like, I can't wait to go home and tell my husband about this. But I really learned that I have to remember like God's my first love, you know?
Yep. I definitely feel like, obviously I definitely don't every time talk to God about it, but like, for me, because I have a long drive home, it's so easy for me to just be like, oh my gosh, this just happened. I'm going to pray about it on my way home before I talk to my wife, and then it's good. But yeah, I definitely understand.
My drive's 10 minutes, so it's easy for me to get home and just be like, oh my gosh, and just like spill my day. All right, you're up. Number 2.
Oh, man. Number 2 isn't really more about us, but like, it is. But I would say through marriage, I have found out more about myself than I had before.
Yeah.
Because like, I always thought I was just like this other person that I'm not. And like, that's good. But it was just it's very surprising to just wake up and be like, this is my life and this is who I am. Because like I never thought I would be where I'm at this age in my life, but honestly, it's God's will, so I'm all for it.
Can you give an example of like a way that you thought you were different than you actually?
I would definitely say like probably through my words and how you said you're a words of affirmation person.
Yeah.
And like I always thought growing up that I was like the sweetest and most romantic, and honestly, ever since being married, I found out that I am a short and sweet person where it's just straight to the point, but also like I love you. What's wrong? Rather than just like, you know, praising you for all that you have done and like all the hard work that you poured out and, you know, going a little deeper. So that's something that I found out about myself.
Yeah.
And
that's actually so true. Because I remember when we did the whole like, what's your love language thing? And mine was words of affirmation. And you said you were going to start trying to like affirm me more. You'd be like, I really like your shirt today. Like, thanks. Like, I just vented to you about something crazy that happened. You're like, you're really pretty. And I'd be like, okay. So I could see that.
I'm sweet.
You are very sweet.
Oh, gosh.
All right. My number 2 is a little spicy. So I hope it's okay to say. But I learned that sexual compatibility is a lie, like in our culture, where they tell you to like find someone that you're sexually compatible with, like maybe test them out before you get married, like do stuff before marriage to make sure that you guys work together, quote unquote, in that department. And like, I'm saying this as respectfully as I can, but I definitely feel like that's something that the reason it's a lie is because I feel like it's there for most people when they first start, like in marriage, because you are in that covenant of marriage now and you can do things that you couldn't really do before.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that I've learned so much about you and also myself in the romance department. And it's something that we continue learning together and growing together in all the time. And I guess the reason I wanted to share that a little more personal detail about our lives is just because don't fall for the lie that you need to perform a certain way for someone in order for them to want you in marriage. Like there are people who are willing to wait, and then it becomes this journey of something that you beautifully figure out together in marriage. And so don't worry, like I had so many people comment on my Instagram when I said I was waiting till marriage, like, good luck, he's going to be a dud in the sack. And like just these terrible things. And I was like, oh my Lord, you know? And so sexual compatibility, guys, is something that you grow in and foster together.
Yeah.
Bethany Beal, I interviewed her on this subject. It's actually something I really love, talking about intimacy and sexual things, not because I'm trying to contribute to the over-sexualization of the world, but because I think the Christian space maybe hasn't done super great about these conversations in the past, like through the purity culture movement and all those things. But when we have these honest conversations, it removes the shame piece to where we can just really get to the understanding. And so that's why I shared that one, and hopefully...
Yeah. Well, I also,
cool
like, just to add on to that, though, like, the reason that you should wait is to have that oneness, that freshness, because it's like, if you do plan on moving in together to live with one another before marriage, or if you do plan on having sex before marriage, you lose that spark. I don't want to say spark, but also at the same time, like you were saying, it's not a crutch in your marriage, but honestly, it helps form that bond even closer. Yeah. And it, you know, makes you feel like closer to that person than you ever have before.
It's just such an exciting time.
Yeah.
Like when you have all these new things, you're quite literally jumping into life together. And I don't know, like especially since getting married, I've never doubted why God said wait till marriage, or why we, you know, really encourage like waiting to move in together until marriage. And so whoever's listening, I just hope you know that you are worth someone waiting for you and with you. Like you are worth that. You are worthy of that. And God can redeem any story if that's not your story. It definitely wasn't mine. So go back and listen to my testimony episode where I'm really honest about that part of my life. But yeah, so that's my number 2. What's yours?
My number 3, and this one's calling you out.
Oh, gosh.
But something that I found out about you as a person through marriage, honestly, when we were dating, I was like, man, like she is really well put together and organized and like clean and this and that. And don't get me wrong, you're extremely clean and organized.
Okay.
But there are days where I just wake up, or like I look around and after work and I'm like, oh wow, we have a lot of dirty laundry. And then I notice and I'm like, oh wait, no, that's a lot of your clothes.
Listen. Okay, in my defense, I just recently started a 9-to-5, like a solid 9-to-5. And I used to be able to like throw a load of laundry in when I worked at home, you know, from home. But now that's not my reality anymore. And I have to admit, it has been difficult to keep up with home stuff. So hopefully that's developed a greater appreciation.
Oh, it does.
In you of me, since I used to be able to take care of more of that more regularly. But
of course.
I will admit I have felt messier than I thought I was since us getting married because of that reason.
But it's so easy to come home after a long day of work and just want to relax and chill with one another.
I want to visit with you.
And it's like, then by the time we get to our room, we see all the clothes and it's like, nope, not a problem. And then the cycle repeats.
Yeah.
But
I'm not messy, I swear. All right, my number 3. This one is really good. Like, I feel like God gave me this one for sure. But it's based on one of the 10 commandments. Honor your father and your mother. And something that I learned in marriage is that honor your father and mother applies to your mother-in-law and your father-in-law as well. And to be honest, like, I've never really struggled with this. I think your parents are amazing. And I think that they've been so gracious to me and so loving and welcoming to me. But I have noticed this trend among other married couples where it's even been like a question people ask are like, oh, how are the in-laws?
Yeah.
And it's like a weird thing to gossip about in marriage.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of friends who do gossip about their mother-in-law and like the struggles, and maybe I don't know, I've heard some like nightmare mother-in-law stories. And I don't know, something I learned and something that I've really taken to heart is I'm not going to let that become me.
Yep.
Your mom and I are different people, but I don't see anything too crazy that I would ever like pick a fight about or anything like that. But I have seen in other families people pick fights with the in-laws. And so I just learned through this year of marriage, like I am to honor them as if they're my parents as well. So yeah. What's yours?
Shout out to Mr. Woost out there.
My God.
Papa Woost. No.
Are we on? That was 3. Okay,
That's
so
3.
what's your 4?
My 4th. And this is also kind of calling me out, to be honest. So, growing up, I was a snacker. I loved eating food. I loved eating leftovers. I loved eating anything and
You
everything.
are kind of a garbage disposal human, and I mean that in the nicest way.
That is a compliment, and I will take that. No, but honestly, just like something that I've noticed in my own body is ever since we got married, and like you with your nutrition background, your nutrition coaching, not nutrition background, but your coaching background has really helped kind of bring that cleansing in my body. And honestly, like ever since then, I really do feel like I have more stamina, like I am able to just like kind of be fresher and cleaner, because honestly now whenever I eat foods that are unhealthy, my body can tell, and it like it's just weird how different my body reacts anymore. Yeah. So like that's a good thing. Yeah. So that's just something that I never really even thought about growing up, because I was like, food into the body it goes.
Well, and I feel like too, like off of that though, I feel like the reason that so many of our grandparents and current parents, the reason that so many of them are so bought in on like prepackaged foods and stuff is because the generation prior to that is who experienced like the Great Depression. Yep. And so when these packaged convenience foods started coming out, they were seen as a luxury because you had to make everything from scratch prior to that. And like since then, it's just continued to progressively get worse and worse in what's actually in our food. And it's something I'm so passionate about. Like that's one aspect of my previous life as a competitive bodybuilder that I really appreciate, is now I feel like I have this understanding of our food for our future family, if we ever have kids or anything, you know, to like nourish them well. And I don't even want to know what your fate would have been, because you had a hot dog, Dorito, and Baja Blast diet prior to this meeting. I have to tell this story. I think I've told it before, but I'll never forget. Saul and I worked together at our last church, and I looked over at his lunch one day and I was like, what in God's great earth are you eating? And it was literally a bowl of rice, cut up hot dogs, shredded cheese, and yum yum sauce that he proceeded to then microwave in a plastic container. And I was just like, oh, Lord in heaven, if you don't save this boy, I guess I gotta.
All you college students out there with no money, try that meal.
So gross. I remember, though, I was like, what are you eating? I definitely food shamed you, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, hot dogs, it's protein. And I was like, oh.
It was great.
We have some work to do. But no, something that I really appreciate is, even though you didn't have like this vast knowledge of like nutrition and stuff like that, you never like shamed me for that being an interest of mine. And I always want to be really careful. Like if you wanted to keep eating that way, of course I would do my best to support you.
Pry it out, honey.
Listen, we just had Doritos in our dinner last night, so it's not like we still have balance for sure. But going back to what I said about like prepackaged foods and stuff, so many of our ingredients in America are actually illegal in other countries. Like if you compare a jar of Nutella here in the US and a jar of Nutella in the UK, the ingredients are vastly different because they have food bans that we don't. And so I actually just saw today, it was the projected life expectancy per capita in different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan was one of the highest, and they're on like an all seafood and like rice diet pretty much. And the US's was like tanking compared to every other country. And it's for this reason exactly.
Yep.
And so I guess I've just been really grateful that you're willing to learn and grow with me in that, because even since marriage, I had to unlearn like bodybuilding foods, like a lot of those sugar, alcohol, chemical, like artificially flavored things to get it lower calorie. Like I've even had to move away from all that to learn like whole foods, balance, and just health for our family. So sorry, you opened up that tangent for me. Okay, is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something I learned is that marriage is active and not passive.
Correct.
And I guess what I mean by that is it's truly a verb, like ongoing, and not just like a noun. Like I'm not just married. Marriage is every day. It's a verb. And so I think I knew that before, but I've really learned it now, because it's not just a box that you check like, oh, I'm married, but it's something that you actually have to pour into each day. And so, there's some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work today, or, oh, I don't want to. But there's never been a day that mentally I'm like, oh, I don't want to be married today. But you have to focus on the same way you focus on your schoolwork or your work if you're an adult, or the same way that I have to get up every day and make sure my dog goes outside and gets a bowl of food. Like, that I'm also feeding and nourishing and like exercising attributes of my marriage that I want to see continue grow and be healthy. So that's just something that I kind of knew subconsciously, but having to actually put it into action. And with that, sorry, this is kind of a long answer. I guess I also learned that marriage is about signing up for a lifetime of like serving someone else.
Yep.
And I think the reason so many marriages fail is because the other person stops feeling served.
Yeah.
And so then they don't want to serve anymore. Or maybe it's they expect to be served, and that's why they're signing up for marriage. But the truth is, just as Jesus said that he came to serve and not to be served, we're to reflect, Jesus in the church as bride and groom. And so my like job as a wife every day is to serve you, and in return for you to serve me. And even if you don't hold up your end one day as much as maybe I hold up mine, like that's what I signed up for, is to serve you every day, regardless of whether or not I'm being served. I can say there's never been a time that I haven't felt served and loved and cared for by you. But it's just changed my whole mindset, I guess.
Yeah. I can confirm she does take care of me. She does let me out in the morning to go to the restroom.
I put your kibble in a bowl and send you on your way.
She sometimes even adds salt.
Ew. Okay.
Oh,
Number
man.
4 for you. Or did you do 4?
No,
it's 5 for you?
Wait, no, I did 4. Yeah, 5.
5.
Oh, this is another one. This wasn't... Oh, man.
Are you about to make me mad?
No, I'm not. It's kind of similarly to food, whereas like growing up, I kind of got a lot of hand-me-downs. I had siblings, a lot of siblings, and we all kind of were about the same, I would say, in height or like whatever you want to say. So like I got a lot of hand-me-downs, but sometimes I didn't get hand-me-downs. I got like whatever I wanted to get style-wise. And I always thought I was the hottest stuff ever. And until I met you, and you would be like, what the heck are you wearing today?
Bro.
Like literally the best combination are khakis, long white socks, and slip-on Vans.
I rest my case, y'all.
I'm saying... that was the worst decision I've ever made in my life.
Wait, you thought like that was attractive?
I didn't think... No, I never really thought my style was attractive as much as like it was effective. So like, even though I know...
Effective in catching ladies?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing out there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just put on clothes and you go live your life, and what happens, happens. Like, to me, I guess... like, if a girl liked me, it would be through my personality more than my style. But then
that's certainly true because we got married. So.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. But it's just crazy how much, I guess, like, my closet has changed in a good sense. Because, like, now I'm, like, comfortable. I'm not wearing skin-tight shirts and pants where I'm like, this is right. This is normal.
I'm going to out you so hard right now, and you might be embarrassed, but it's okay. I'm going to turn your mic off. So, when we first got married, Saul has these underwear that he wears. And the first time I saw them, I was like, babe, those look like they're literally cutting off circulation to your entire waist. Like, why are you wearing those? And you're like, I don't know, these are just my underwear. And I'd be like, well, there's a store. Let's go get you some new ones. And he was like, no, like, these are fine. And they were. It's not like they had holes and stuff in them, but some of them probably did. But I was like, these look so uncomfortable to wear every day. Like, they're constricting your whole body. And you're like, oh, these are just my underwear. And, like, there were so many things in your closet like that. I think from being just homeschooled, youngest, hand-me-down, receiving your whole life, that you didn't understand that, like, it was okay to go out and get something for yourself like that and to find your style. And so I've just genuinely really enjoyed seeing you come into your style since us being married and, like, have fun with your fashion, because I can tell when you, like, feel really good about yourself and what you're wearing, and that's fun for me to see you like that.
I think I also was just very content with what I had, so I never really even saw, like, an issue with it. Not there was an issue, but it was just like, I don't know.
It wasn't an issue, but you definitely had a lot of clothes in your closet that just, like, didn't fit you right. Like, things were awkwardly tight, or, like, you know, and...
Does this make my butt look good?
Your slip-on Vans that you wore were so sun-faded. They were, like...
literally, like, rustic brown.
Like the color of your jacket, and not even black anymore. So he's wearing, like, a copper brown jacket. But anyways,
What's your fifth, honey?
My fifth is that, this is a good one. But I'm responsible for my joy from the Lord, and you're not. And, you know, I think too often people use their spouse or even the person they're dating as, like, their battery or their recharger or charger or whatever, instead of getting that source from the Lord. And so, again, this is kind of like the first one I said, but I'll come home and, like, vent to you and expect that to fill me up. But when you're like, I mean, let's pray together, but then I still wouldn't feel all the way filled up, it's because I have to go to God for that. And so I guess something that I've been really doing is taking my own battery responsibility to God instead of to you. Like, if I'm socially drained or, like, physically drained from the work week, you know, you're definitely here for me to talk about to that and with that. But 2 quotes I wanted to say with that. I've been listening to Erwin McManus's podcast. I really like it. And he said to be someone for someone. And so I just have to remind myself to not stop being someone for you. Ultimately, we are who we are for God, but I mean, as a spouse, I need to take that responsibility. And Craig and Amy Groeschel, they do this whole, like, marriage course, and we're doing their book right now with our small group. And they said, be someone you want to marry. And I think there's definitely days where I'm not someone that I would want to marry. And so I've just been really taking my joy meter so much more responsibly and intentionally with God for you. And not putting that expectation on you to be my, like, charger. So, yeah.
It's also really difficult because it's like, you're right here.
Yeah.
Even though, like, we know God's here, but I see you, I feel you, and, like, I can do things with you. And it's just, like, so much harder. But, like, that's where you build your strongest relationship is through that trust.
Yeah. But that's also, like...
and vulnerability.
For sure. An impossible expectation to put on you. Like, you would crumble under the pressure, you know? Trying to fill a position that only God can. And so, while I know that you're always here, you're always willing to listen, and a hug from you goes a really long way when I'm having a bad day, ultimately still God can only be that source and that fulfillment. And I've learned that even the hard way at times.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep.
All right. What's yours? Next one.
I would say that my next one is rest. I still don't even really know what I find rest in myself in, other than like really worshiping through the Lord and just like spending that quality time in worship.
The beach.
That is very restful and relaxing. But I will say with you, I've found out that it's not like, I always thought it was just like, let's just go to the couch and turn on like a TV show and like chill. And like, yeah, it's very restful and relaxing. But then when you like realize what time it is and you're like, oh man, I just wasted this whole evening. It's like, it doesn't even turn it like, it doesn't make you feel rested anymore. But something I've learned about you over this past year is that your rest and relaxation is like project based or like adventurous. Like you're so like active that doing something like keeping your mind busy is restful, even if it's like with at home or like going to somewhere new. And that's something that like I'm trying to work on, and like, okay, let's not go down to the living room and just like turn on a show or a movie or whatever. And to just actually like do that, even though it might not be restful to me, but I want to give that rest to you as well.
Yeah, like I've definitely felt that something that brings me a lot of rest is to go for a walk outside, like at sunset or something, just like basking in a moment with God. And for you, sometimes you've been like, I just want to sit on the couch. I don't want to go for a walk. But yeah, I've definitely learned that's one of our differences too. But you always say yes and go with me, which is really nice.
Definitely not gonna lie. Today, she got home from work and I was home before her, and I was definitely on the couch.
But you did say that you'll work out with me after this.
That's true.
You're like...
hot and sweaty.
Okay, my number 6 is that I learned that setting like shared goals together is so important for a marriage. It's like accountability and responsibility, but it's also something that moves... I think it's good to have individual goals, absolutely, but setting goals as a couple helps you continue progressing as a family. So, for example, we're going on vacation soon, and actually by the time this airs, we'll be long back from our vacation. But is this pre-recorded? Yes. But we saved for this vacation. We kind of like set a goal for how much we had to save for it, and now we're getting to go on vacation, and like it's just so much more rewarding. And you know, not just financial, but any goal really. Like, for example, we have been trying to be better about really being in the Word more intentionally. And so together each day, we kind of look at each other and we're like, did you read your Bible yet today? And just having those goals as a couple and understanding what it takes to move forward to have the life that you want, I think is really important. And so I love that we kind of have these like dream sessions together spontaneously, where we plan and dream and scheme for where we want to get in the future.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
So my last one, and I honestly am like super proud of us in the fact that like over this past year and including like when we were dating, we've never gotten into an actual argument or like raised our voices with each other. We've had multiple disagreements, but like the thing about like what I've learned is just like talk to each other about it. Like if there's something that's bothering you about that other person, just bring it up to them and just talk to them. Like it's sure they might get a little bit snippy at first, but have that patience to kind of let them talk. Like you talk, then let them talk back to you, and then you discuss it. Like you just kind of have to open yourself up and be vulnerable in those situations. And like, do they suck? Yeah, of course they do. Because it's like, not all of us love confrontation. I know you and I are not people that want to, you know, be confronted or confront someone. But like, we've handled situations together like really, really well. And like, honestly, like I would definitely take pride in that. But like, knowing that like it's because we have God at the center, and knowing that like we both have that solid foundation in Christ, because it's like that's where our goal is. Like it's through Christ that we can get, all things accomplished in our lives. So it's just knowing that we have the same goals in mind. It's not like one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, they might get upset if I say this, or like if I do this today, they're going to be mad at me for that because you have different mindsets or whatever. Yeah. But like, I know that like I'm super proud of us and like definitely take that for granted. And I don't want to because it's like, that's not, I know a lot of newly married couples that are like, yeah, we just got in an argument. And it's like, but did you talk about it? And like, no. It's like, well, but why? Like, do you want to see yourself with that person in the next 5 years? Like, that's just something that, you're married to be a part of a covenant, and like, you got to work with that person. It's not always going to be perfect. So
this isn't my last one, but you reminded me of something that I've learned, and it's that you're a way better person than I am. Because whenever we get in a fight, which like we haven't technically gotten in our first fight, I don't think, but whenever we've gotten to a situation where we don't see eye to eye, which honestly, guys, I can count like on my hand.
Yeah.
The amount of and they've been like, honestly, they were kind of like miscommunication things. And then when we realized that we're actually on the same page,
it's like, oh, we're misinterpreting each other.
It was fine,
Yep.
But you're always the first to apologize. And you are. And I really appreciate that, because I think that I can have way more pride at times than you let this like, I don't know, you get this like guilt in you, like very golden retriever vibes, like you just made a mess on the floor and you weren't supposed to, and then you know what I mean, but you do, and you always come back and like you put our love first and you put us first, and then when you apologize first, I'm like, I really should have apologized first, you know what I mean, but it makes me realize that you care about our love way more than you care about maybe being right or holding on to that like angry feeling. And as the youngest sibling in your family, I noticed too, like when we first got married, a lot of times you would like answer me like kind of snapped or like sharp. And I'd be like, what? Like, where did that just come from? I'm so confused. And I realized it's because as a kid, you had to stand up for yourself so many times and like prove your worth and like prove that you should be there, prove that you were really good at like the things that you cared about. And I think you learned as life went on together that you didn't have to have that like defensiveness with me, and that I already saw those things about you. And I had to learn to like, I don't know, just like maybe be even softer and like how I say certain things. But you always have been the first to apologize, and always have been just the one who's like can't stand when we're even off a little bit. So golden retriever vibes. Okay, my last one is I guess I feel guilty as we've been reading these, because I put down things that like I have learned.
Yeah, no, I think
and not necessarily like things about you. I thought that's what we were doing, but I feel like yours have been way sweeter. So, anyways, the last thing that I learned is that I don't have to apologize for the baggage that I've brought into your life. And I guess what I mean by that is, I think anyone who has heard my testimony knows that my family life is like a little crazy, right? And just a lot of different situations, a lot of different dynamics, a lot of brokenness. And I think for a while I felt so guilty that you married me, maybe because I couldn't offer you on my end this like great family that would then become an addition to yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just have learned that like God put us together for a reason, knowing that you could handle all of this. And I know you probably wouldn't sign up for it, but he knew that you could handle it, and that you would accept every situation with grace and love, which I've seen you do time and time again in the most difficult situations and conversations. Like, I don't know. I wish that I could share with you guys the details of these really hard situations that I've seen Solomon in when it comes to like dynamics in my family, but to honor them and protect them and not spill all of, I try to talk about just my life and myself and not other people's business. So I'll just leave it at that, but it has made me fall in love with you all the more. But it's made me realize that you don't think less of me or less of our marriage because of what I bring to the table in my side of the family. Like, you never discredited me for that. And so I don't need to apologize for it or feel guilty or feel like you're getting the short end of the stick. And that has brought a lot of freedom, I guess, to me in my life. And it hasn't made marriage bittersweet, but it's been something that now we get to like face together. So
yeah. I've never really even thought about that. Like, it's not your fault that certain people are the way that they are, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
every family has a few,
it's
you know?
fine. But like,
well, in my family, in case they listen to this, hi guys, it's great.
Yeah.
It's just very different, a lot has transpired, you know? And everybody has kind of gone their separate ways in their ideologies and their religions and their sexualities, all the above, because of it. And so we still love on them, but you've taught me even more how to love on them even more just through seeing how you handle these situations, and it's just been amazing. So
good.
So guys,
1 year.
That is what we've learned in 1 year of marriage. And
should we go for one more?
I guess, yeah. Let's try for one more.
Try for one more year.
Also, this has to be said, but anybody who is watching on YouTube, you might see that I kind of redid the studio here, and Saul helped me. But when I posted about it on Instagram, I had like a paint swatch, and I was like, guess what this is for? And the amount of you who said a nursery. Guys, it's only been a year, okay? It's only been a year. We actually have plans to go to Greece first, and then maybe, Lord willing, we'll try for kids. But you're definitely giving up your studio, and I'm not giving up my podcast room for a nursery.
Yeah.
That'll be our first fight, actually. That will be our first fight. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you learned something. Hope you were encouraged. And I need your guys' help, actually. If you could take a moment to screenshot this and share it to your Instagram story, or even after this episode, go leave a review on the show and just let others know what you're learning here, what you love about Christ and me, and how you're experiencing Christ in yourself. Like, just share. I really want to build this up to be a community, and Saul puts so much hard work into producing the show, so guys, don't let him down. But yeah, please leave a review, and you can connect with me over at Addie on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.